नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. Om. Dear friends, welcome to the study of Mahabharata. We were seeing a very sensitive and a rather delicate ethical situation here. That is, one lady marrying 5 persons. So, we were seeing yesterday that the society is not a polyandrous society. In a totally polyandrous society, it is okay, permissible. That is what Drupada and Drashtadyumna, they were also saying, and everybody throughout Mahabharata, they keep on saying that this is something which is loka viruddham, this is something contradicting what we see in the world. A woman can marry one man, but how can a woman marry 5 persons? And for that, we saw a sage Vyasa came and then told Drupada, there is some background to this. This lady is born with a specific purpose, and it is not a normal birth. This Drupadi's birth, she is not a normal birth. She is born out of that fire altar. And that fire altar also, if you want to take metaphorically, we can take it as that in fact Drupada's anger, she is born out of that Drupada's anger, and his only desire was to have a daughter who would marry Arjuna and who would say defeat the Kauravas, etc. So that was Drupada's anger. And the other way was the sage Vyasa came and convinced them, yes, she was blessed by Shankara to have 5 husbands, so that is how all the Pandavas will be her husbands. So that is what he said. Then again there was a second way of explaining, that is allegorical way, saying that Pandavas, they represent the 5 senses and Draupadi represents the mind and all that. That explanation was also given by some people. That looks simplistic. But let us try to understand the text as it is. If we see try to understand the text, so we obviously it is going against the normal morality. See, how ethics or morals, how are they evolved in a society? Ethics and morals are what we call objective morality. Objective morality is something which pertains to everybody, which governs everybody, which is applicable to everybody. They are something which are objective. They are that is applying to all human beings. For example, goodness, kindness, all these things are objective things. Ethics, how is ethics? How does it evolve? All these ethical values and all that, they do evolve from an analysis of human nature. We can also say, okay, God is there, and then God is the point, God has given these rules, and then we have to obey the rules, etc., etc., we can say. But even without reference to God, we can forget about God, even observing the human nature. In fact, in India, in our system, we don't evolve, we don't say that God has given these rules. In fact, Gita, or if we see all our texts say, this is human nature as it is. It is not something to do with God or anything. So human nature, what is it? Sattva, Rajas and Tamoguna. Sattva guna manifests in the entire Prakriti, there are 3 gunas. And these 3 gunas, they manifest in a different way. Sattva guna, a person who is having a sort of ideal conduct. Rajo guna, somebody who is having an aggressive way of functioning. But at the same time, he can also have this Sattva guna. It can be controlled by Sattva guna. And the same Rajo guna, if it is not controlled by Sattva guna, and if it is having some bad ways, it can also lead to harm to the people. And that is what is called Asura Rakshasa. The same Rajoguna, uncontrolled by or opposed to Sattva guna, is what is called Rakshasa. So this human nature is like that. And there are certain social values. And these ethical values, how are they evolved? What is not good to me, naturally is not good to others. Suppose somebody hurts me, and it doesn't, I don't like it. So it means, it automatically follows that I should not hurt others. Suppose somebody causes some sort of hurt to me mentally. I am not supposed to cause a similar hurt to the other man. So these are certain things which are understood by everybody. That is what Gayatri Mantra also says. Dhiyo, the Gayatri Mantra is translated in the form of a shloka. Yo devas savita smakam dhiyo dharmadi gocharaha. Dhiyo dharmadi gocharaha means for every mind, dhi means mind, dharmadi gocharaha, whether what is dharma and what is adharma is known to every mind. It is something which is known to every human being, even an ordinary man, even a villager, he knows what is right and what is wrong. He may not be knowing law, but what is good and what is bad, that he knows. Even an ordinary person, everybody knows. Achandalam manushyanam, that is what there is a shloka also, I have forgotten. So that Gayatri mantra translated into shloka says, Dhiyo dharmadi gocharaha, that is every human being, that is what we call conscience, that itself tells us what is right and what is wrong. So ethical values are derived from an observation of human nature. And there are certain values, and these values, they are applicable to all the people. They are otherwise called objective morality or objective moral values. And sometimes it also happens that somebody subjectively thinks, okay, this is good for me, this is what I will follow. Maybe all the people may be following something else, I will follow this. But I am not going to harm anybody, I am not going to interfere with anybody, my action is not going to disturb any other person. So we can also see like that. So this while objective morality is, for example, an example of objective morality is, you should not take somebody else's wife, you should not steal, you should not do this, you should not do that, etc., that is objective morality. But subjective morality, suppose 2-3 people, they come to an understanding that they will have a same wife. Naturally, in all our, the way we are seeing the world, present day world, okay, a man can marry a man, a girl can marry a girl, anything can happen. So that is individualism. So here if we see the subjective morality is something which is good for me, something which is an extraordinary situation. So in Mahabharata, we can understand this as a sort of extraordinary situation where 5 people come together and then they have an internal understanding. They have an understanding that yes, we will marry this lady. And Kunti is a sagacious woman. Kunti also is a very wise lady. She has seen that all the 5 boys are interested in that girl. Dharmaraja is also a very wise man. He also saw, he observed the faces of all the brothers. All the brothers, they were interested in this girl, in this lady. So obviously, it will lead to some friction if only one man marries. So they are right now, even right from the beginning, they had that understanding. Any precious thing has to be shared by everybody else. So something like that. So because of that, they went for this. It is a sort of practical arrangement. It is a sort of practical arrangement in an extraordinary situation. So that is how we can see that. And we can also see, having made that arrangement, they also had some conditions. That condition is she will be staying with each husband for 1 year. For 1 year she will stay with Dharmaraja. Next year she will go to Bhima. Next year she will be with that, like that. Then it was very, very meticulously observed. And when that lady is with somebody else, when, for example, when the lady is with Dharmaraja, then Duryodhana, this Arjuna or Bhima should not go to that place. Or similarly, when that lady is with Arjuna, Dharmaraja is not supposed to go to that place. So it so happens that once Arjuna, by sheer accident, she had to pass through this house of Dharmaraja where Dharmaraja and Draupadi were together. And for that, he had to do a penance. He had to go for Tirtha Yatra for about a year. So that internal understanding, how truthfully, how well they executed it, that is also we have to see. That internal understanding, it has not done any damage to what is called the ethical structure. The general moral values, or what is called objective moral values, it has not done any harm. It is actually a sort of internal arrangement which was strictly followed by them. So Arjuna, when he accidentally flouted it, he went out as a sort of penance. He went out for tapas, for Tirtha Yatras. Then all brothers, as I said, this Dharmaraja also saw that all the brothers were interested in her. And again, she was the only Dharma Patni. This is another important thing in Mahabharata. One important thing, we have to see the words of sage Vyasa. Bharya is different and Patni is different, though both means wife in English. In English, I don't know how many synonyms are there for the word wife, but in Sanskrit there are many synonyms. Patni she has a special status. Bharya, she has got a different status. Bharya means somebody who is just maintained. Bharanat Bharya. Bharanam means you are just maintaining her. So that is Bharya. And Pandavas, we are going to see that Pandavas, they do have other wives also. But all the wives are not Patnis. Patni is the female form for Pati. Pati means husband. Pati, for that Pati, there is a grammatical rule, Panini's rule. Patyurno yajna sanyoge, there is a grammatical rule which says that Pati get that nakara patni, Pati becomes patni, and then it comes to Pati becomes patni. Yajna sanyoge, he says, that is the wife who is entitled to sit on par with you when you are performing a yajna. Suppose you are having 4 or 5 wives, of course that's not going to happen to us. So you are having some 2 or 3 wives, let us say, and you are performing a great yajna in which you are getting a lot of punya. In olden days, of course, nowadays we may or may not believe. In olden days, that performing yajna was a very great thing. So that yajna, when you are performing, who is entitled to sit there? All the 3 wives should not be quarreling. So you have to declare somebody as that patni, one who is qualified to sit there. So whoever is probably the most mature woman, well-read woman, and then highly traditional type of woman, a person who knew all those things. So such woman was declared as the patni, and other people, they were relegated to the second level. So patni is somebody who is having a special status, and this Draupadi is having that special status for all the people. In fact, for all the five persons, for all the 5 Pandavas, she is the patni. So this word patni is frequently used in Mahabharata, particularly with significance, not without significance. Patni is somebody who is having a special status. And Dhritarashtra also later says she is the Dharma Patni, she is also the Yajna Patni. He says Yajna Patni is a person who is having that authority, who is a person who is supposed to sit with the husband, while both of them, they have to jointly perform that yajna. So that is what we see, an equal partner in a yajna. So this is a sort of family code of conduct. So that is how we can agree, we can understand. And Draupadi was actually, she was a person born with a specific purpose, and the purpose was to bring death to Kauravas. And naturally, all the Pandavas are wedded to that purpose. We can understand like that. Draupadi was born with a purpose, and all the Pandavas, they are wedded to that purpose. So that is the reason why we can say that all the Pandavas, they married her. Probably there was some sort of unexpressed concern among them that if only one person marries, there might be some sort of difference. So we do not know, whatever it is, it was a sort of internal arrangement. It is better to understand it as an internal arrangement instead of either supporting it or condemning it. We are not either supporting it or condemning it. We are just understanding why this Dharmaraja and sage Vyasa and Kunti, all these people, they took the decision. And Draupadi also, she accepted it. Draupadi also, she actually didn't protest. Even much prior to all these discussion, when Pandavas, they were there in that potter's house, and on the night when they slept, Kunti was sleeping, when all the boys were sleeping, in one line, all the boys were sleeping. At their head, towards their head, Kunti was sleeping, and towards their feet, Draupadi slept without any protest. So she knew that all the people were Pandavas. She knew the identity, and she had already accepted them. So anyway, so it is a sort of mutual acceptance and a sort of internal understanding. From that point of view, I think we can understand it and leave it at that, because there can be endless debate on this, endless ethical discussion about how one woman can marry 5 persons and all that. So we can see the peculiar situation and understand it in the context. So thereafter, of course, this is the story which sage Vyasa tells about the previous life and all that. Thereafter, now okay, Drupada also comes out. Drupada sage Vyasa tells him, I am giving you some Divya Drushti. You will see what these people were in their earlier lives. So Drupada also has that vision. And then Drupada is totally satisfied. What can we do? This is the divine will. He says, Dishtasya Granthir Anivartaniyah Dishtasya granthi. Dishtam. Dishtam is something which is there in the destiny. Dishta, oh, maybe it may be a cognate word also. Dishta and destiny. Dishtasya granthi anivartaniya. This is something which cannot be undone. Anivartaniya means it cannot be undone. Destiny cannot be undone. And all the people they were in their previous lives, they were the Indras. And this lady was Svarga Lakshmi. And we have to now perform. As you say, okay, now we can go ahead. Now once Drupada agrees, there is no problem. Then again, then again this marriage takes place, and immediately, so okay, let us see the details of the marriage. Pushya Masa, okay. Then one after the other. First of all, this Panigrahanam. This Panigrahanam, this practice of Panigrahanam was there even in those days. We see that in Ramayana time also this Panigrahanam was there. Panim Grunhishva Panina. We see that shloka in Valmiki Ramayana. So Rama holds the hand of that Sita and then moves around the fire. So here also Pradakshinamta Pragruhita Pani Samanayamasa Sa Vedaparagha. So Sagruhita Pani. So Pragruhita Pani, that is Dharmaraja taking her hand and then going around. And on the next day, Bhima married her. On the next day, this Arjuna married. On the next day, Nakula. On the next day, Sahadeva. So that is how on 5 consecutive days. There was a lot of expenditure to Drupada, we have to assume, because if there is one bridegroom, then he can give some gifts. Now here there are 5 bridegrooms, and so he has to give 5 times. So anyway, Drupada was a very rich man and he gave all those things. So let us understand like that. And now Kunti also, she blesses. There is some interesting lines where she says, Kunti blesses Draupadi, Jivasur, Virasur, Bhadre, Bahusaukhya Samanvita. So Jivasuhu, Virasur, Bhadre. In olden days they used to bless. You have so many children. Oh, Bhadre, oh my dear auspicious lady. You will have valorous, you will have warriors as your sons. Bahusaukhya Samanvita. Subhaga, Bhoga Sampanna, Yajñapatni, Pativrata. You are a Pativrata. So another point which you see here is, Draupadi is considered as one of the greatest Pativratas. Pativrata means one who is following the vratam of the Pati. He is a Pativrata. Though she is having 5 patis, 5 husbands, she is a Pativrata. Pativrata does not mean that anything else. She is following the vratam. She is following the code of conduct or austerity of the husbands. Here not one husband, 5 husbands. So she is called Pativrata. Yajna Patni. Kunti is calling her Yajna Patni. That is somebody who is entitled to sit for Yajna. So that is what we see here. We have seen earlier that Bhima married Hidimba. That Hidimba, when he killed Hidimbasura, that Hidimba came and then in fact Hidimba requested Kunti, you please accept me as your daughter-in-law. Kunti said, okay, good, you please accept that Hidimba. So Bhima was the only man who could manage that Hidimba. So naturally Bhima had already married. So similarly, we see that these people also had other wives. Not earlier, but later. But now she is the only Yajna Patni. So that is how we see that. And Kunti also says, Atithin, Agatan, Sadhun, Vruddhan, Balans, Tatha Gurun. The responsibility of a Yajna Patni. All other wives, they don't have this responsibility. The responsibility of a Yajna Patni is that she has to honor the guests. She has to give food to all the people. Any respectable people, all the sadhu and saints and all these people, when they come, she has to respect them. And then again, she also blesses, okay, your husbands will perform this Ashwamedha Yaga and you will be the queen and whatnot, Rupa Yavana Dakshinyehi. So, and then meanwhile, Lord Krishna also comes there. So, we see that Krishna is appearing for the second time here. Krishna, for the first time, he appeared in that Swayamvara incident. In that Swayamvara, he was the man who located these Pandavas, when Pandavas were actually staring at Draupadi. So, Krishna again comes along with Balarama, and then he has also brought lot many gifts. We have seen that Krishna is very close to Pandavas. And again, if you see the divine play, if you think it as a divine play, Krishna's interest is not in Pandavas. Krishna's interest is in Dharma. We have to see that point. Krishna says, later also, it is not as though Pandavas are very dear to me and Duryodhana, etc. are not dear to me. I am only interested in Dharma. I am interested in establishment of Dharma. And Dharmaraja is the one who is following Dharma. That is the reason why I am with him. So Krishna very clearly says. So even here, this Krishna comes and then he gives a lot many gifts. So meanwhile, what has happened? All this thing is happening when all the kings were still there only. This, after all, immediately after this this bow, this challenge, and then that event is over, all the people, they did not immediately get back. So on the next day, this marriage has taken place, and then probably they waited. The other kings also waited for some time. So when the kings, they came to know, then some of them, they really felt happy. Oh, good that Pandavas are alive. And they also said, Dhiga kurvanstata bhishmam dhrutarashtram cha kauravam. Many of them, they said, oh, what is this stupid thing this Dhritarashtra has done? What is this stupid thing even this Bhishma has done? They said dhik. Dhik means, in Telugu we say chi. Dhik, in Sanskrit it is called dhik. Dhik akurvan means they said chi. What is this Bhishma has done like this? See, what is this Bhishma and what is this Duryodhana has done? What is this old man Dhritarashtra done? So they censured, or rather they condemned these elders and all these people, and they were all very happy that okay, at least Pandavas are all alive. And sage Vyasa again, Tavani Drushan. Then what about this Draupadi? What about this Duryodhana and others? Duryodhana and others, they are very much, they are so totally perplexed, and they are actually cursing that Purochana. This Purochana has not done a good job, etc. And one person, one counselor to Duryodhana, he says, now the person called Saumadatti, he says, now this Duryodhana will have, the Yudhishthira will have all the wealth, all the strength, all the army of not only Drupada, he will also have the support of various other kings. He will also have the support of Krishna and others. So let us give something to them. So anyway, that advice is not liked by Duryodhana. And Duryodhana and Dushasana, they were so totally crestfallen. They totally crestfallen, particularly because even if they had not got Draupadi, their enemy has got Draupadi. That is the point. They didn't get Draupadi, okay, but then their enemy has got Draupadi. So then again, Trasta Vigata Sankalpa. Then they were also afraid. They were also afraid that Pandavas will slowly and slowly, they will gain strength. Because Pandavas, now they have got the support of Drupada, got the support of Krishna and many other people. And then again, Vidura comes, then they all get back to Hastinapura. When they get back to Hastinapura, Vidura goes to Dhritarashtra. And Vidura tells this news in a rather mischievous way. Vidura plays some little bit of mischief with Dhritarashtra. While speaking to Dhritarashtra, he says, oh, Kuru, our Kurus are very lucky, he says. Vidura goes to Dhritarashtra and says, oh, our Kauravas are very, very lucky. Then that blind fellow, he thinks that, oh, Draupadi has put the garland in my son's neck, and then she has chosen Duryodhana. So now Draupadi, Duryodhana, they are all coming. He says, oh, that man also says, oh, what great luck, he says. Then this Vidura says, then again Vidura tells all the details, Drupada Kanyaya Duryodhanam Avijnanat. Then again when he says that meanwhile that Dhritarashtra is also already saying, oh, bring that Draupadi, get some ornaments, etc., etc. Then Vidura says, no, it is not Duryodhana, it is Pandavas. Pandavas are still alive, and the Yantram, this Matsya Yantram, the target was hit by Arjuna, and now that Draupadi has married all the 5 people, and now they are all alive. They are also Kauravas. You see, we have to understand that not only Dhritarashtra's sons were the Kauravas, even Pandavas are also called Kauravas, because here and there we see that expression also. Why? Because that person called Kuru is the forefather for all these people. Kuru is one of the greatest kings in that family, and Kuru is the forefather for both these Kauravas and Pandavas. Just for our own convenience sake, we are calling this Dhartarashtras as Kauravas, but in the text, if we see, most of the time it is not, they are not called Kauravas, they are called as Dhartarashtras, Pandavas and Dhartarashtra. the most correct way of saying is Pandavas, that is son of Pandu, Dhartarashtras, sons of Dhritarashtra. And both of them, both groups are called Kauravas. So this Vidura plays a small prank and then says, oh, Kauravas have won. And that blind man thinks that, okay, this Draupadi is coming as my daughter-in-law, having married Duryodhana. So then again, when he tells this truth, when he tells the facts, then he doesn't want to disclose his unhappiness. He doesn't want to disclose his unhappiness. He says, Yathaiva Pandoh Putras, Tathaiva Abhyadika Mama. Oh, these Panduraja's Putras, they are alive. And they are like my children only. I am very happy. I am very happy that they are like my children only. And now Drupada, Vidura says, okay, you have the same idea with you. May you have the same feeling. May you have the same amount of love for the Pandavas. You see, all this Dhritarashtra is actually pretending. Dhritarashtra, inside he is burning. Inside he is also insulted. His real nature has come out. His real nature is, initially he thought that Duryodhana has married. So, but then he is hiding all his feelings. And then he says, okay, I am happy, etc., etc. Then Vidura says, okay, may you have the same feeling always. And then thereafter, Vidura leaves. And now, after Vidura left, this Duryodhana and all these people, Dushyasana, etc., they come to this Dhritarashtra. They come and say, oh, my dear father, how is it that you are praising these Pandavas in front of Vidura? Then Tevayam Praptakalasya. Now, in fact, we have to get rid of them. We have to get rid of them. And how is it that you are praising these Pandavas? Then Dhritarashtra also says, oh, my dear boy, I am, you see, this Vidura is a mischievous person. Ahamapyevamevaita chikirshami yathayuvam. Even I want to do the same. I am with you. But I don't want to reveal myself in front of Vidura, he says. I don't know. Vivektum nahamichhami. Akaram Viduram prati. You see, Vidura is also a very smart man. Vidura, he can observe the body language. Vidura already knows. But then this Dhritarashtra always tries to conceal his body language. We will see his predicament, what they discuss tomorrow. Duryodhana, Dushasana, Karna, and even the elders, other people also, they do come and advise, Bhishma, Drona, etc., they do come and advise. We will see their discussion tomorrow. Harihi Om Tat Sat.